So I just put a link to a video with Stephen Bannon speaking about forever wars. Washington, D.C., the World Trade Center had collusions with the news, too, with the World Trade Center attack, predicate acts. Also, at the same time, with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and campuses, and with child abusers, leaders of kids, years apart, they have roles forcing, and with the kids that were child abused as adults, as roles forcing it, and the sources of WTNH, former director of the F.B.I., Robert Luskin, has collusions with the Army, with Wethersfield Police, and with the military, intermilitary, Air Force, Marines. They're putting fake transcripts in their databases with child offenders, leaders of kids around their own, too. Retired police chiefs increasingly involved with worse than just war crimes. Get me off the fake conversations with WFSB about the World Trade Center attack. These are a whole bunch of people with Fox Connecticut News and the intelligence next to them in Hartford, Connecticut, intercities with the intelligence next to WFSB, the intelligence next to WTNH, which is the FBI too, involved with digital and wire crimes and methods of them, with whiting forensics too, state police families, interstates. At the same time, with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, the educators of the people involved, putting fake transcripts in databases, and collusion /yes. Then they need to hide that in the future. These political parties are fake. That's why you guys don't follow mandated law. That's why it's a problem. In the background of the picture, they have music playing and all these, and they're showing all these cities. There's the answer right there. The suburbs were designed tactically denatured before America's founders were even born. The suburbs to cause negative value nature progressions, acts, and nature's demonstrations of it. Specifically, to have those demonstrations and roles with the breaching method, forcing those demonstrations blamed on other things, others than self, and or on selves, while there were roles with it. Our founders communicated for us to understand how breaching method forced collusions with black people as white survivors replaced. Anyone sensing that or speaking about that, because it wasn't just against, it wasn't, let's address slavery, let's address witch trials. These things are separate. Let's address the Native American rights. These things are inseparable. That's why president /chief, those are inseparable titles, but they don't mix for a reason, because everything is about hyper-additional nature. We have rights that are too numerous to have to list. New Britain Superior Court has been switching names and forging names of Wethersfield Police and fire departments involved. They have a whole bunch of fire department families have roles with Russians. They're implying they have roles with nuclear too, and they have roles with Secret Service too. With confession went right before Barack Obama appeared to speak at Central Connecticut State University. In other ways, discernibly involved with people in New Britain, Connecticut, Central Connecticut State University. That location, the sides of it, has people increasingly involved with predicate acts on my streets since I was a kid. And I live in Wethersfield. And these are also people all along Route 175 from the founding locations in Old Wethersfield with corners of that street in conjunctions to it, planting evidence, acting for other people to put fake ties, fake natures, ties to people. In other words, get them on paper, one name and sequence. Get me off the fake conversation with the world about the World Trade Center attack, too, that WFSB pretended. They have roles with a whole bunch of other things that were brought up at the same time, especially their roles with names next to body dumping spots and child abusers, leaders of kids, untimely deaths brought up at the same time, intercities. These are people involved with the intelligence at town lines still. They're going to have to get that out of the forgiveness because they're all guilty at the same time. We have to get them on paper. Stop changing and faking what people say and focus on the predicate acts. Like WFSB's World Trade Center predicate acts. They're recording, confessing, demonstrating, confirming. They have a whole bunch of people tied to the name Scalora involved, and DeMoro, and Kerr, and Kalol. Phil Kalol was also one of the ones involved. Further, with a Bob Chase at Whiting Forensics, he brought up the name Christine, didn't give the whole name, wouldn't let me read a police report. I still can't get the police report. They keep putting confessions and demonstrations about how they put arrays of falsified police reports for the same arrest, but none of it is anything that can be responded to. They're like trying to fish, and they're refusing to identify themselves. So they have roles of predicate acts methods too, whole wire crime methods. The databases hold all fake things. In other words, then they're going to speak about worlds world wars, and so they have all those countries here, collusions with them. Other minds speak about difference. How they speak about difference, they don't address how the black people's whites of eyes were reassigned by the breaching method, and our founders themselves and nature itself shows us that. They didn't have free speech about that because of that. And because of how every group was sickly, distinctly hurt through their own, and no one wanted collusions, so everyone blamed other things, others themselves, why they're doing that with their syntax, therefore physically. Everyone was an extent of collusion against themselves and against everyone else, and or that body was sensed, including if that body was the majority of people, including if it was everybody. So follow men to the law, have courage. Don't fear the FBI and the Wethersfield Police and the intermilitary. Why you make me leak it for you? Why don't you just get on paper one name in sequence with the collar cords? This way reports.